In the Fallout universe, the end of Canada did not begin with bombs, it began with paperwork and oil. The year was 2059, the world was already burning, the year Middle Eastern War had torn through the old balances of power, and the nuclear annihilation of Tel Aviv sent a message to every remaining nation on Earth. There would be no limits and no mercy. As global fuel reserves vanished, the United States turned its gaze north. Alaska became the new front line. The vast crude oil fields beneath the frozen soil were now the lifeblood of the American war machine, carried south by the Great Steel Artery of the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline, a structure that crossed directly through the Canadian territory. Under the banner of mutual defense, the U.S. government pressured Canadian leadership into allowing American troops to deploy along the pipeline to quote-unquote protect it. However, protection soon became an occupation. American soldiers filled the Canadian towns, convoys thundered across the frozen highways, and bases started to appear where the forces once were. And the people of Canada began to understand what this truly was, not protection, but preparation. After the Chinese invasion of Alaska in 2066, kicking off the Sino-American War, increasing U.S. military presence in Canada began to raise tensions to a point of riots. Faced with a deteriorating situation between China's invasion and opposition from Canadian civilians, the United States military changed tactics from simply guarding the pipeline. Despite mass protests, the country's resources were being exploited and stretched to the breaking point to support the American war effort, such as vast stretches of timberland being destroyed beyond recovery. By 2069, public opinion to the south had turned against Canada, with the nation becoming known as a derogative Little America in the minds of the U.S. citizens. The breaking point came in 2072. Riots erupted across Canadian cities, protests paralyzed transportation hubs, and then someone even tried to sabotage the pipeline, but the attempt failed. That, however, gave the American military leaders everything they needed. With the public outrage blazing on both sides of the border, U.S. forces abandoned all pretense of restraint. Canadian resistance, brave, desperate, and doomed, was crushed as American divisions swept across the nation almost unopposed. When pictures of the atrocities committed in the name of the United States made it over the border, they sparked unrest and protest from the American public, who became concerned themselves about the escalation in military action. This changed absolutely nothing. On June 3rd of 2072, General Buzz Babcock, commander of the U.S. forces in Canada, stood before the press and declared, "For reasons of national security, the United States has formally annexed Canada." Then, without hesitation, he added, "Little America was always American. Canada ceased to exist." By 2077, the annexation was complete. The provinces were no longer provinces, only occupied territories under U.S. military authority. Canadian citizens were issued temporary identification cards, making them residents of the U.S. annexed territory of Canada. Meanwhile, enterprising third parties sought to capitalize on the annexation for their own interests, such as the Vault-Tec Corporation.